Okay, guys. I got a little guy I'm feeding here for a second. We'll get started. Hold on, Pip Pip. You'll hear some animals along the way. What are you doing there, man? No, I'm feeding him because you guys are bullies. Just letting everybody get in and join. And in the process of feeding one of the little guys. Is he scaring you? We got somebody else trying to get in. I don't think it's a chicken show. I don't. Back. Finish eating. That won't be good. Might have to scare a few of the big guys away, won't we? Just waiting on everybody who purchased the kits to join in, and we'll get started. In the process, I have one of my little rescues here eating. He's a silky. And we got a few other bullies that don't let him eat. So we're letting the little guy eat real quick while I'm waiting on everybody to join. Hi, Teresa. Got some animal music in the background. Done? And I got food splattered. We're good. We'll give a few minutes. I have a few that were having trouble finding it. Hey, Pip Pip. Come here. Here's Pip Pip. This is the one that I always post about, that we hatched from an egg. Can you say hi? You know the camera. So this is Pippy, the one that's always with us. That's why my hair's covered. They'll randomly just jump on your shoulder, and having a couple hundred rescues, accidents happen. What do you see? Want to get down? All right, Teresa, can you hear me? Teresa, let me know that you can hear me and everything's good. and then we'll walk through and start the process with the hearts. Just making sure everybody's in that's got the hearts. Making sure you guys can hear me. Just type it. All right, make sure the comments are up on it, and I'll reverse the camera and we'll get started walking through the process. And then if you guys have questions along the way, I'll answer them in the comments or I'll answer them here live. So we'll make sure. Okay. So let's make sure. If you guys have questions along the way, I'll answer them in the comments. Turn this down because I got chickens screaming. We got hawks flying by, so. All right. If you hear noise, sorry. My chickens are surrounding me, wondering what's going on. Let's see if I can't get it. So I'm starting to get surrounded. They're seeing what's going on. So everybody who had gotten the heart kits will walk through the process. Just making sure everybody can hear me. If you can hear me, let me know in the comments. So everybody who had gotten... And then I need to turn this down so I don't have... Just making sure everybody can hear me. If you can hear me. All right, let's turn this down. Okay, Teresa, I know you had gotten the kit, and I know several others. Here in a minute, I'll reverse it, and we'll start the process, and I'll show you what we do. Hi, Robin. Thank you for letting me know. So we'll go through, and we'll start the process and show you guys how I plan them. And if you have any questions, let me know in chat. And this will just be one of several workshops that we'll host online and start it there and see how it goes. So I'm going to go ahead and reverse the camera to the heart and we'll show you how we do it. So for those who purchase the kits online, again, let me know if you have any questions. So we'll turn. Okay, so I went ahead. So here's my heart. I stained it aqua. And then let me show you. So I'd already put soil in mine. It's lined. So you can go ahead and take about half of the pack of soil that I sent you, if that, and go ahead and put a little bit of soil inside of the planter. I know I pre-lined them. So go ahead and put a little bit of soil inside to give you something for the plants to grab a hold of. You do not have to use the sedum. That's completely up to you. You can use it at the bottom, like some of the photos, or you can put it throughout the planter. So one of the things that I do is normally I will start and put a small amount at the bottom of the sedum. And again, you don't have to use it. You can kind of put it throughout the planter as fillers. So you can start placing the sedum. You can use a few pieces. Remember, this will start to grow and vine down. So it's really what you want. You can pull some of the strands off here. Like I'll break a few pieces off. I don't need it. There's more than enough stem and root system. So you go through, start adding your pieces to it. And just take your time. You have the soil there, so this will, root. I'm actually going to grab you one of the hearts, and I'll show you what the back looks like for those of who do not have a kit. We get some farm music while we're at it. So normally it's either chicken wire or lathe wire. We router out the back so it doesn't scratch any surface. And then I would line them. I would either line them with burlap. You can line them with sheet moss. So basically, I would go through, and if I'm using the sheet moss, I can actually go through, and I put it soil side up. Go through, you can line it, and that's it. Fill in, make sure you fill in your spots. Just do a quick example. And that's it. So put your soil in. We're starting with the sedum. Give everybody a minute to go ahead and put your sedum, where you think you like it. So that can kind of show you the process. And then let's get these other pieces I have. So I kind of like to make them a little more even. There's times to where people want them overflowing so you can do the length, but they're going to grow that way. So I'm more into tight, compact. Can't see the soil. That's more me. That's why I had so many plants and stuff. So I think I'm going to leave mine right around here. I like the way that looks. So you can kind of, hold it up and I'll show you. So yeah, I kind of look the way that looks. Okay, so now what I would do is take a little bit of soil, not much, and just put it right here up against the split of the heart, right there where the opening is, and just push it firmly. Not worried about any of this yet. So slowly go through. So that's fine. If you need to change anything or rearrange it after, it's simple. Okay. I was getting ready to say super and simple. That was going to be a new word. Now, sometimes I will take a little bit of moss, and there's moss inside the kits that we sent out, and you can push the moss firmly up against, and it holds it in place. So there's a few ways to the next step that you can actually, let me move the wire, and we'll go down, and there's a few ways that you can actually start adding your plants. So there's no wrong way to do this. There's plenty of times that I actually do a bunch of minis, and then sometimes I do larger plants. So you can start at the top, something like this. So you can kind of move a little bit of the soil away. Position your plant. I can kind of hold it like this and see, okay, do I like how that is? And if I do, I can go in, add just a teeny bit of soil over the roots or the moss. Now, I like this moss because it doesn't, one, it's real moss, but it's dried. It has soil built into it, and it doesn't mold. So I can secure this way. A lot of people who do projects like this use glue. I want to stay away from glue. It's not going to hurt the plant. But again, the less glue you use, the better. So I try to do everything. So now because I covered it that way and put it, I'm already starting to stand this up. You can see my sedum fell out a little bit because I didn't moss that like I just did this one. No big deal. So anyway, I got the first plant in. So next, like Teresa, one of the things that you'll do is go back, and ahead of time you can start just going through and seeing if you like the way that it looks. And if you have gaps like that, then that's where you can go back, take a piece of your sedum. You can use different types. So for instance, I can come in with something like this, and then I can go back, and now I've covered that gap. But that's also going to look cool once it's done. So I like the placement of that. Go back, add a little bit of soil, and we're just going to complete the process and go through, cover it. Again, you can add a little bit of moss. You do not have to. I do like adding moss around some of these top ones. It really does secure it in the beginning. All right, I got stuff shaking over here. So that's the next part. Let's go ahead and find something else, and I can show you. So normally I'll use rooted plants. Some of the sedums and other stuff, I can use cuttings. Doesn't matter, that the moss will help. So now you can go through and decide whether you like that. So I like the way that looks there. If you break a leaf off, propagate it, grow a new one. So let's see. I like the way that looks. So I can leave that. I'll show you now with a cutting. It's kind of the same concept, except it doesn't have roots to grab a hold of. So this is where I would come in. Soil. And then a little bit of moss to secure. And if you want to use cuttings in any of our planters, our letters, anything, go out and get yourself some floral pens. They have them in packs of like 250, 500, 1,000. And here's something that you can do is you can take, for instance, where I have the cutting. Now, you wouldn't have to do this if you were, let's say you were leaving them lay flat, okay? You're just putting it on a windowsill or somewhere. But normally when I plant these, I immediately turn them up like I would hang them. So now I can take a floral pen and I can actually really tighten it up and go in and push. Now I'm going to show you because see the planter, because this is at the top, it's not going to go in, okay? It's not going to go all the way in and secure it. But watch what I do. So now I'm going to go in with the next plant. That one's going to be held in. Again, I like the way that looks. Add a little bit of soil. And I'm not going to mulch yet. Now I'm going to go in and fill a few of these little spots. So I'm going to go in and fill a few of these little spots. And when I add the next plant here, before I add, I'll pull this out and hold it. And then I can actually, hold on, Pip Pip. I can actually take and really secure it just using the cuttings. If they have longer stems, then you don't have to worry about it. Because if you have the stems, you know, it's again like the roots, but if you have really, really short stems, so here's something that's longer stem. So I can go and just kind of see if I like that. Just kind of hold it. So I like the way that looks. And now I got to decide. So that's one of the things why, you know, you can just kind of play around with plants of all different sizes and shapes to see if you like that. So I like the way that looks. I can go back and put a piece of sedum to fill the spot. And then that way, you know, like I said, I like them filled nice and secure. So I like the way that looks. The only difference in this one doesn't have much to it. Let me pull that out so you can see. Doesn't have much to it, which again is no big deal. If it doesn't have a lot of stem to it, add a little bit of soil before. So now I secured, got it in place the way I like it. Move the leaves up on that one and kind of make sure everything's there, compact. And now I need to decide what I'm going to use for this area right here at the top. And this is where your sticks come in handy because you can kind of tuck everything in and push the roots down. So I can kind of say, okay, I like that section. We'll see how it turns out as I add here. A lot of times I try to line it up right here with the point. So this part I might actually have to remove. We'll see as we go. It's not a big deal to go through. I can gently pull it off, or I can, actually, let me just do it right now. There we go. And then that way I have this opening. So I'm going to line up a plant there. And let's see what I can use to kind of fill in that top part. And that's kind of the plant that you'll see. And you want to try to get it right. All right, I got to get that right lined up in the middle. Which it pretty much is. You know, you can push it over and secure, and we'll make sure everything's in there. So now what I want to go back and do, before I even take this piece is take a little bit of that moss, put it right here, and I'm going to show you with the floral pen that I've already made a little tighter. And I'm going to go through, and now it goes all the way in, as you can see, right there, and held that in place. So it's nice, tight, compact. Go back, add this guy, can put a little bit of soil underneath. So he's going to kind of serve as the center plant. Then as he grows, the baby grows, they'll all be right here in the front part. So that's where we're at right now. Now here, when I'm looking at it, I either need to add something in here, or I can, tuck a little bit of moss in. So I'd probably add a little more sedum to it. So this guy's in there. Remember, I did it. I'm kind of rotating between cuttings and rooted plants, just to show you, you can do it with both. A lot of the planters we sell, I go ahead and pre-line them. It makes it a little bit easier for people when they're doing the DIY kits. And then you're good from there. So I'll add a little bit more sedum. Okay, so now we're just going to the next side. So this is where I would add a little bit of soil and cover the stems, just a thin layer of the sedum. Again, you can use the whole bunch, or you can use it throughout, as kind of gaps in between your succulents. So I can add a piece up here. The more sun the sedum gets, the pinker it will turn. So we'll add a piece there. And then a lot of times, so I'm using smaller ones here. A lot of times I would use, again, it would vary. So now I can go here, add this in and see, if I like the way it looks. I kind of don't. Even though it's pretty, I want to kind of balance it out. So that's actually not bad there. So we'll continue with that. Again, add a little bit of soil. You can add and remove as you go. I have this sedum here earlier, so we can actually tuck it in there because that will vine out and spread. Okay. So now I can just start piecing in and see if I like what they look like. I have parts of sedums, just to mix real quick. You can kind of look at it and see, hold it up so you can kind of see her stand up and look at your planter. And you can see if that's something you really like. I like away a lot of the sedums. And then that way, as it grows, you have a lot of new color. I'm going to go ahead and put another ghost plant in. Just like how the color turns out. So, like how that shows. And if your placement is slightly off, one of the things I like about the sticks that I gave you for these kits is you can go back with the moss and you can go and kind of position them. And I'll show you how I'm going to do that towards the end. So now let's see where this guy would fit. Okay, I like how that looks, but there's a few gaps there. We can go in, add just a few pieces of sedum to fill the areas that we know. Again, you can use your stick. You can put single pieces, a bunch, it doesn't matter. Because these are, all the soil's removed. It's not going to get root bound. These are going to be able to grow in these planters for a while. And we'll go over the care tips, and then at the end we'll ask questions and make sure everybody that had got the kits has a clear understanding. Okay, so now I can go back and add the piece that I liked how it looked there. So kind of fits like a puzzle piece, and that's what I'm looking for. So go in, add a little bit of soil. I will add a little bit of moss because I'm going to be getting to the end. And that's why it's nice to kind of work from one side to the other. So I can take, and I'll show you how to secure everything with the moss. Like this guy, I'm going to want to push in a little bit. And then we'll go through and make sure everything's tightened up. So now I'm kind of getting to this last section. So now what I want to do is decide, am I going to just put one large single plant there or a bunch of minis? If I put minis, I can just keep adding them in and kind of go through like this. You know, you can't do wrong. I mean, that's the thing. This is for you. It's an experiment. So I can kind of go back and see, you know, do I like that? Do I like the way, you know, they leave a few openings so I can push them tighter together. Or I can remove them and go into something else. Or I can add sedum. And you can't, you know, that's one good thing about sedum and fillers like this is because you can go back, and if you don't like something, like I don't necessarily think that one looked good there. Maybe a smaller one. Yeah, see right there. I like that better. Can go in and add sedum because just a little piece here and there is going to add some color. And that's why I like using the white and the pink. So now, I'm basically here at the end. I'm going to add a little bit of soil and just make sure what I got, you know, is in there. You can take your stick, go in, you can take the flat end of it, and just kind of make sure that you have everything pushed down and secure. You can take a piece of moss, go in, make sure it's in there. Make sure everything is, you know, nice and tight towards the end. And then now, I think what I'll do is I'm just going to take a single plant and kind of match it up to this side. So a lot of times if I do the minis, so let's see what just one plant at the end looks like. So I already have one ready. So go in, make a little opening, and let's see how this actually looks. When I place it, you can kind of push your roots down and see. And I'll go back in with the sedums and fill. So, okay, that's not bad. Kind of doing it with the phone in the way. So let's go back. This will basically be the finished piece. So let me add a little more soil. Make sure it's got everything it needs right there. Now this is the part that I like, really making sure everything's secure. I have a few guests that showed up. 1 second. Hold on, drop the phone. All right. Sorry, Donald. He's over here quacking at me. Him and his woman want some food, and I have a few that I keep for. This is Donald and Fred Jr. He's coming to get some food. Okay, back to the heart. I had to take care of those guys. It's becoming that time of the day, and they're demanding. All right, so now we're at the end. I'm going to hold this up. And see, in the beginning, we pushed it up against the planter, and we started going across. Now we're doing the complete opposite. We can't push it this way and put it in. It will leave a gap. And you don't want to damage anything. So now we line it up. And this is where your sedum. This is basically the only part that you have to use the moss. You don't have to, but it helps. So now I'm just going to go in. I didn't try to push it in, just gently have it on the edge. And then watch what I do. So I'm holding it exactly where I want it. And then I push in. Go to the next spot, push in. You can take the end of your stick. I broke mine. I need to get another one. Now you can go back and add a little more. So basically the reason I use the sedums and I use a little bit of moss is, one, I'm shipping these But two, I like how it holds everything in place. I like the sheet moss. It's something that has just never failed me. There's so many different types of mosses, and they mold and they get nasty. So I've secured the end of it. Now here's what I normally go back and do, okay? See how this is at an angle? I just want to gently lift it up slightly. And I want to take a little bit of that moss. And again, use your stick, move anything out of the way. And I want to push a little bit of moss underneath of it, and it will kind of level it out. And it won't be as far down. Go back to this edge, because again, this one we pushed up against the planter so we could start, line it up, and then just push it in. And use the flat end. It does work better versus the pointed end that you would push the roots in. Okay, so now I've secured those. Now I'm going to go back, can blow it off. So now I want to see what it looks like. Now on the side here, again, I really don't like the way that that piece looks. So I can use my stick and I can gently push him in. And then one of the best things you can do is take a little bit of your moss, go under, and I used the wrong end, and push him in. Get a little more. You can actually feel when you push the moss in, if it goes in like super easy, you can actually feel, maybe I need to add a little more. And that's how you tell whether or not you need to secure it. And if you have a decent amount of movement, or like now I'm starting to feel resistance. Okay, so now that kind of straightened those up. I kind of want to make sure that these guys, it's rounded and it kind of stays even. So as everything grows, it stays more uniform. Now I'm looking at it and yeah, I need to blow it off. I like how everything looks, but I don't like this. So because I used here, I don't like the way this looks. So I want to show you, if you see something that you don't like, one of two things. So I can gently just pull him out, and I can decide, do I just need to remove him? Or can I just reposition him and not have to put another plant in? So by pulling him out, you can kind of see whether you like it or not. Maybe something a little smaller there. I always try to match, make it look more uniform, but I'm just showing you the variety. All different shapes and things that you can use. So I'm actually going to grab a different plant and show you how I swap out. Hold on, guys. Okay, let me show you. So now, take this guy out. I can gently remove just a little bit. And now, kind of hold it up. And that shows you what it looks like. So let's see if I can find something that I like that looks good there. So I can kind of go through, say, okay, if this guy was pushed down, do I like that better? I think it does look better. I actually might go with that. You can kind of see. So I'm not sure. So which one do you guys think? This one that I just put in here, or this one? Which one do you think that actually looks good there? Then I'll show you, I just go through and clean everything off and show you how we do it and make sure it's good. So now, since I removed some of the moss in the soil, you can add a little more in. You're not going to hurt anything. I mean, that's the thing that what people do with succulents. I always try to, if I put my hand over top of them, I actually try to go like this, you know, to the outer. So I kind of like how this one looks. Again, I can go through, push the roots down. That makes a difference. It's less you're messing with it. So I think that looks better. It's a little more compact. So let's go through now and re-secure it. If you don't want to mess with anything, you know, I know I'm not going to hurt them, so I'll move a little bit out of that way. Use the flat end and push it in. So let's see if it looks different. Blow it off. I need my air compressor over here. Again, you can go through, you can kind of push everything in, make sure it's secure. Okay, so now I'm holding it up. So I could hang this on the wall right now. One thing I wouldn't do is if I hung it, I would not water it. So you want to let this sit, adapt for several days. Now I'm going to show you. So again, let's do it right about where it would be on a wall. That's about level where it would be. And everything's in there good. That's what makes the difference of starting at one end and going to the next. Now I have a cutting here, a cutting here, a cutting here. So I have, yeah, a few cuttings. You know, the rest of them are rooted, so that makes the difference. So now let me actually show you what I do personally when it's time to water them. So now all I would do is, let me show you without, depends on where you're at. So let me make sure you guys can see and move this like that. We'll just do it like this. I have the hose, so I can go through, make sure I don't have it on jet. I can actually rinse off any of the soil that I got in the plants. The other thing about the moss is it's actually going to hold the edges in from losing soil. Because this is redwood, it's going to last so much longer than typical woods. And sometimes I take the air compressor and blow it off. So that's it. I gave it a little bit of water. The soil that I use is the coconut coir. Then you can fertilize. Promotes root growth, blooming, and I've never had anything ever be overwatered. It doesn't matter if it's 20 degrees outside, the core dries so much faster, so your soil's not staying soaked. So that's it. So if you see when I went over with the hose, just to show you, before I end up spraying the poor chicken. Sorry guys. I can sit here and keep soaking it. That's another reason why you have the wide layer backs. Airflow, drainage. A lot of the planters that people make, you don't get airflow. The wood's going to start to soften and rot. That's why we use redwood. But the airflow and drainage makes a difference. Now, even though, let's see if I can show you. I'm going to flip this upside down. I just showed you with the hose. It's still not through. So let me see what it takes to actually go through. And if I'm watering this now, of course I wouldn't hang it. I can let it sit flat. But let's see what it actually takes. I think it's starting to come through. Let it sit here for a second. It's starting to get a little moist now. Remember, we didn't have a lot of soil in it. Just enough what the plants need. And that's really it. So I'll take and let this sit for probably, I'd say, especially since I watered it, right now, you know, if you're not going to hang it, you can go ahead and give it a water. You're not going to hurt it. I mean, that's the thing, that, you know, this is not something that's been in the box, and you've had, you know, no light on it. So, you know, these were super healthy, tongue-tied, super healthy plants, you know, that were in the kits. So these guys have been exposed to a lot of light. You know, that's why you get your color. But you can go ahead and water them. You know, they have roots, even if there's a few cutting pieces, and then let it sit. Once you're done your heart, let it sit for about a week. You don't have to do much to it. Because of the coconut coir promoting root health, you're going to start seeing new growth and roots. I'd say maybe in about 10 to 14 days, you're actually going to see, you know, new growth. And once it roots into this planter, that's when you're going to see a huge, huge difference. And then that way, you can start watering regularly. So if you are somebody who's on the East Coast and you have a lack of light right now, this is where you would only do the bare minimum. Again, it has airflow and it has drainage. So what's going to happen for you is, if you can get it enough light near a window, you know, just that bright indirect light, you can water this roughly. There's two ways I do it. I either do small amounts frequently, or I do just a quick water, you know, a good soak like I did with the hose. I'd say probably weekly. If you're in a cooler area and you don't have grow lights, you know, and you don't have a lot of light, they hold a lot of water in their leaves. Therefore, I would do it about every 2 weeks. Do about 1/4 cup. You can soak it just like I did. If you don't want to soak it, then use a spray bottle. Use a spray bottle, use a small cup, and just go gently, you know, and get it in between the plants. And that way it gets into the soil. Those roots will grow where there's moisture. And that's why I like using the core. So now I can take this guy and leave him in here like this for months. One of the things that I'm going to show you, so you know, is as this grows, you can actually start taking cuttings. So that's one of the advantages. Let me grab the scissors and I'll show you. Trying to get Gabe to help me. I see a chicken over here messing in my plants. It looks like they knocked something down. We got plant 911. All right, so let's just say I've had this planted now for months. You do not have to really mess with this. And here's another thing. If you are fertilizing this and providing it enough light, they can permanently stay in here. They won't grow as fast because it's more compact, and you're keeping the growth a little slower, which is nice because you want to be able to enjoy it. So one of the easiest things to do is to keep it this way, is to go back and start doing cuttings. So now I can go, and this guy's standing out. So let's just say that this one right here, let's just say he's grown and he started to stick out a little bit, and I don't like the way it looks. So now I'm just going to go make sure I have a clean pair of scissors, and I'm going to go right in, and I'm going to show you. I can break him off with my fingers or anything, but I'm just going to go right in and clip. Now, the stem's still going to be there. That's going to now give you new growth. I cut him a little short. So that's going to give you new growth. A lot of times it will grow double heads back or triple. But I'm going to leave that and let that come and grow back in. So you can do that as these grow and they'll gain. You don't have to do it at once. And that way you have a heart that always looks decent. I can take this guy now and put him right back in. and you've seen how short the cutting was, take a little bit of moss, use my pointed section for a second to make sure that I'm not pushing on anything else. And now go through. This is where a floral pen could help. That's what I was talking about it. So now he's back in there. You could do that, and you could leave it there if you wanted to until the other one started growing. There's so many easy ways to do this. So that just gives you an example of what, you can do as it grows to get cuttings. So that's another thing. And that way you can leave it in its planter. So if I go and like this guy's falling out as I'm messing with it, I can take and remove a little bit of the moss that I put in there. There's the stem right there that I did. Get him in there a little more secure. And then I can take one of my floral pins. The stem's actually going to, because if you look where you cut it, he's right here. He's going to get light. He's going to continue to grow. So I can either go back through, or I can take my floral pin right over. This is another thing. You do not have to go through and start damaging. Right over top here, like this. So I can squeeze it, tighten it up a little bit, go right over top. And then use my stick and push it in. Hold it in place, keep it aligned. And then start gently pushing it in. And just push it in slow and you can feel it. Now I felt the grab. Right here's the stem. So as soon as that starts growing babies, take it out. Or you can leave it. So now as I moved it around, this moved a little bit. And plus I watered. And that's where you can just push your moss back in. Push everything down, make sure it's in place. Again, kind of grab like this. So when you're not really touching the plants as much. So that's it. So I showed you what I would do, how I would water, how you can take cuttings off of it and keep letting it grow. Another thing that you can do until it starts growing longer is you can just remove a row of leaves. So I can go in here and gently go back and forth. This is how I do it. Now, I would always make sure it's watered, everything's nice and plump before I start pulling leaves off. But you can gently hold it up and kind of go back and forth to make sure, left and right. So I can take the leaf and propagate it as well. So as this starts to grow a little bit, I can take the leaves as well until the height starts coming up. When the height starts coming up, that's when you can do one of two things. Take a cutting and remove it. Remove the leaves and just keep pushing it down. Because as everything gets watered, it will start to soften and you'll have room to keep pushing it down. Fertilizer and feedings. One of the best things that I've noticed is when you have stuff like this, especially with the coconut coir, it's going to last for a while. But you can go back and fertilize these planters and feed the plants to get faster growth, to do, whatever you want. You can feed it weekly, monthly. There's really no overdoing it. There's places that fertilize on a regular basis to get the fastest growth as possible. So it's really on what you want your planter to do. I normally do it monthly. I'm not, in too much of a hurry, especially in something like this. If you're giving it enough light and it's not outside, because it's cold, then everything's not going to go dormant, so it will continue to grow. Might be a little slower, but that's really it. Okay, so you guys are talking. Okay, so sheet moss. Let me go ahead and answer a few questions that I see. You were not asked a question, so let me actually answer a few questions for you. So you guys are talking. Okay, so I really have found a few sheet mosses I like. One of my favorites is this. the moss d'Orly sheet moss. And the reason being, it isn't a sheet. I never pull the whole thing out, but it actually isn't a sheet. And I can line that, like I said, in the planter, or again to secure the edges. So this is the only one that I've found. Amazon has, I think for about $50, you get like 30 pounds of it. It would last you years. I mean, I think me doing, I probably do roughly 50 to 100 planters every 4 to 5 days that I'm sending out. So if a box lasts me well over a month, and I mean, that's a lot of use. So it would last somebody who's not using it. Excuse you, sir. The other way. It would last you guys, you know, a lot longer. But again, let me show you to make sure that you've seen everything on it. I get this at Home Depot. So I get it at Home Depot. I know they have it online. It does not show you the back of it so you can see. There's the serial number. But that way, almost fell off. That way I have something that doesn't mold, it doesn't really rot, and the plants can actually grow in it. You don't have to do soil. So because the way that they cut that, they're not bleaching with it. It doesn't have everything else in it that a lot of the mosses do. Okay, as for fertilizer. So you really can't go wrong with fertilizers. One of the things that I've noticed is I personally like systemic fertilizers. If I'm going to have, let me give you an example. I start in stages. For instance, I have a greenhouse, okay? Since I'm live, let me disconnect this and I want to show you something. So I have in stages how I stress plants. So I have stuff in the greenhouse, and then I have stuff here. I have grow lights set up. There's a lot of different things that I do. So everything gets exposed at different times. Some of my other stuff that's a little more fragile. Right now you can see the sun, that it's actually only getting that afternoon, and it's right here. So depending on what I want to do with it. So everything has different stages that it's getting. But if I have things outside, I'm going to use a systemic fertilizer. A lot of times I will actually, I'm going to fall over the bowl. I will actually do it after, I'd say probably about 7, 8 a.m. I would go through. You can hook it up like they have the Miracle Grow bottles, so I could mix it in there and then spray the plants. I like it because it's preventing a lot of things. People don't realize it, but I have trees above certain areas. Pests come from everywhere. They don't just come from plants. So you know, one thing about it is that your plants can get pests from soil that you buy, from a neighbor, you know, has a severe infestation going on. So there's many areas that you can actually have issues. You could have brought a plant in that's slowly, showing signs. So by using that, you're preventing, the roots are absorbing, and as a pest would eat it, they can't reproduce. So you're preventing by doing that. There's succulent fertilizers. I like using liquid. I do not use it like using pellets or granules. I like being able to spray. And one of the things that I do is make sure that there's nothing sitting in the crown of the plant. I can blow it off after. If I'm doing a large watering, I can use the air compressor after. And most of the time, you know, like with these guys, it's a smaller compact, so you can fertilize it. It's getting everything that it needs. You're also being preventative. And then you can just blow it right off if you got it in the crown of it. Just don't leave water sitting in it, especially if you have it in the sun or if you have it under the grow light. And that way you keep it in perfect shape. So I really don't have, let me show you actually. Let me grab the bottle because I didn't think of that and show you one of the ones I use. One sec. Okay, let me show you a few different types. So Bear has one, Bio Advanced. Let me actually show you a few different ones. Again, I do like the systemic only because I don't have to do it often, and I've noticed great growth, you know, in the plants. So let me grab the bottle and show you. So here's another one that I got from Home Depot. So Fertilizer Insect. And you can just soak them. So that's one I use. There's different types of fertilizer, like Cactus Jack has one. You know, you can use that. So that's not... One of the things I do try to stay away from is a lot of nitrogen. Nitrogen can attract pests, and it could also kill them. So it's one of the reasons why I like using systemic, because if I'm attracting something, I'm also being preventative to make sure that I don't have outbreaks. So those are, I don't know where the other one's at, but you know, those are a few I use. Again, I really like the Bio Advance. You can just mix a little bit of it in a container, water. And since like something like this, I actually think I put it in a sprayer if I'm doing all the plants. It lasts about 6 weeks. It's going to prevent, you know, your black spot, your mildew, rust. You know, there's several things. And of course, you know, mites and mealies and, you know, anything that can really cause a lot of damage to your plants. So that's one I use. Is there anything else that you guys want to ask? We've talked about the fertilizer, the moss. See, I really like the drippy things, but I'd love to see more, maybe like lace. So pretty. Okay, so some of you guys like the vining ones. So yeah, it really just depends on what you guys like. I'm more tight and compact. Again, I'll go through. These guys are going to vine down. This is going to vine down. My sedums are, and that's why I'll pace sporadically and put different. So I'd say we're talking, I don't know, maybe 30 days from now. Like, I'll probably go in about 2 weeks and give it its first fertilizer. And then, you know, leave it alone for about a month, you know, and then repeat it again. And you'll definitely start getting, you know, a lot more growth that way. And then because it has the airflow and the drainage, they actually grow really, really, really well, which makes a huge difference. Tamara, is there anything else you think that that you can think of that you want to know? If you guys can't think of anything with the planters, do you have any questions? Anything you want to ask me? I will tell you the soil, I like Viagro. It's Viagro, coconut coir. That's one of the soils that I have seen the succulents do so well in. And if I actually don't water, there's times when I'm going through and stressing the succulents, I won't water for 60 days or more. And that's the good thing about the coconut coir, is it never really, it dries out and it will get kind of firm, but it will actually never allow the roots to fully dry out and die. So certain things I have in the greenhouse or have outside, and I really want to stress for the color, I'll just let them sit. Now, I use Viagro. Amazon has several different types. Let me actually look real quick, because I can tell you the ones that I've used that I actually got and I planted for our coral tree. So I actually have a coral tree that is going to provide a lot of shade for us out here. Okay, so let's see. Let me pull this up and show you. I've used this. And I know a lot of these actually, I've used these. So they have a few. I've tried a couple different types. I haven't had any issues with any of them. One of the things that I did like is the Viagra brand that I get, you don't have to add water to. It's already grounded. So that's easy for me because I'm doing a lot of arrangements and I can sprinkle that in and go on. Now for others who can, you can take a bucket or a bin, break off a piece of the block, because it makes a lot. Break off a piece, add a little bit of water to it, it expands, and then you can use that up. So you can do really small pieces at a time so you don't have to worry about it. And then that way, you're not wasting it. Or if you do end up using more than you should, let it dry out really well. And then that way, then you can put it in a bag. So if you want to do all of it, just make sure you dry it really, really, really good before you seal it up. And then you don't have to, worry about it. So that's normally what I do. Again, I buy the Viagra. There's been times I haven't been able to get it, so I'll buy it online. And I haven't seen one that I really didn't like. So that's the soil, the watering, the care. You guys can always reach out for me for those who got the kits. We will go and do another live again next week, and then we have some in person. Anybody has any questions, you can post on this post and I'll be able to see it. Other than that, I think we've covered it if anybody doesn't have any more questions. And again, for those who have the planters, you can water it now, but then let it sit for 7 to 10 days and just adjust, because you've taken it from not being planted to planted. You're not going to really overwater with these. Like I said, I've soaked them. I've watered them every single day and experimented. Even with our driftwoods. This is about the same depth. I'll show you. This is one that I'm getting ready to work on. So let me show you. So it's about the same depth as the heart. So I would add the soil in and plant, and that's kind of the same thing. But these, I would water after I've planted them almost every single day for about a week, small amounts, and then let them sit for weeks, and they just thrive. I've experimented and just kind of put a little bit of water in them, but this is how we hand drill them out. So most of the guys, that we do is in wood. So you really can't do wrong just because of the way that they're made. But pay attention to the plants. I mean, that's honestly, you want firm, plump leaves. You don't want translucent. So just really pay attention to the planter. The plants, not the planter. And then that way you can really tell. So I like the small, frequent waterings. Everything seems to really thrive that way. You never really have to soak and let it sit. And there's less risk for mold and all those things. But, right now being in winter, I have grow lights more, light. So mine, again, I'd probably do every 7 to 10. If it's inside, do about 1/4 cup. And then just pay attention to the plants. If you have any questions, come back to the post or reach out to me and I'll let you know. Other than that, I appreciate you guys joining. And we'll be back again. And thank you for everybody who had gotten the kits. And we'll talk to you guys soon. Hope everybody has a great rest of the weekend. Chickens are saying bye too. Thanks, guys. Bye.